Hi there everyone, thank you so much for joining me for another makeup tutorial. The sun is shining out right now. I feel springtime coming on. I have a new backdrop. I feel like I'm in somewhere tropical. It's a great day. So today I've had a request to do a vintage inspired look from one of my followers. This is such a classic look. I love the red lip, the contoured eye, the doe-eyed liner. It's a great look and super easy to do as long as you have the right tools. We're also going to talk about a couple other things. Redness on the skin and how best to get rid of that. I'm going to show you another trick of how to do liquid liner. I'm going to try a couple different skin products as well to show you different foundation types. So here we go. We're going to start with the primer. This is going to go on your lid first. It's going to even out everything. We want to really even out that eyelid, take away any pinkiness, redness, purpliness, anything like that. So today we're using the MAC Painterly. It's a great priming product, really good neutral color. You can just use your finger, you can use a small brush, but I find the heat of your finger tends to blend it a lot better. So I'm just going to go in and just start in the center of the lid and just work it from the base and blend it up to the eyebrow. Make sure you get to that inner eye. And blend it all the way up to the brow. That. Okay, so base complete. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go in with a shadow, a highlighting shadow, to soften and even out the eyelid and set that cream product. Because if you go right in with a dark color, it's just gonna get kind of stuck in there and grab really strong, and it's gonna be really hard to blend the edges. So we're gonna go in with this brush. So this is the Quo All Over Shadow Brush. Really nice basic brush that's got like a nice like fullness to it, and it's nice and wide. And then I'm gonna go in today with my, Elate shadow. So this is Union. We're gonna use this nice highlighter one, and it's more of a matte one. Classic Vintage was more definitely about matte. It was, you know, the filming and everything was a little bit different, so very matte look. So we're gonna go for a bit more matte colors today. So this is Union, and we're gonna go in and we're gonna start right at the inner of the eye, blend across the lid, and then fade it up. So we wanna set that entire base and just brighten the lid. Now the more that you kind of stipple, the more coverage you're gonna get. Now you want to be careful with this first base product that you don't go too light. Because if you go too light and it just ends up starting to look kind of clown-like from your brow to your lash line and really flat, especially if you're not doing much of a crease color. So I like a fluffier brush because it tends to shear out the opaqueness of the shadow just a little bit. Get right on that inner. You can pinch the brush and do a little bit under your lash line if you like. Okay, so now definitely keep that brush separate. That's going to be your highlighter brush. It's going to be our brush to kind of soften and clean up edges if we need to with the darker shadows, so make sure you keep that separate. So now what we're going to do, now with the classic vintage look, they really did like a nice job like kind of contouring that crease even to the inner a little bit. They would change the eye shape so that it kind of started up and like went down a little bit droopy just to have that kind of sultry, sexy look. So you can really play with it, and it depends on your eye shape and how much you want to, you know, play with the downward feeling. I have already downward eyes, so I'm not going to go too much towards there, or I'm just going to look, I think, a little sad, not so sexy. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in with the crease color. So I've selected my Elate blend brush today, the crease one, and I'm going to go in with this shadow right here. So between the two, this one's definitely got a little bit more of like a pinky tone to it. I want something a little bit more taupey and more nude. So this one is Earthen. Earthen right here, and then this is Beloved. So Earthen has got a little bit more of a taupe. I'm gonna go in with Earthen and do the contouring. So I'm just gonna dab and get it all across the entire brush, and then you can always tap it to go like that. And then when you're gonna start kind of in the outer third of your lid, right at the lash line, and we're gonna go up from there. And then we can control how close to the inside of the eye we wanna go. But just to kind of place the shadow, and you don't want the outside of your brush to go outside of your eyelashes, so we don't want to drag it out too far yet. And just like little tiny controlled circles. If you have a lot of product on your brush, you can just kind of stipple and place it first, but it kind of ends up being this outer C shape, and we want to leave that center of the lid. That's important. We want to keep that inner to the center of the lid lighter and more matte. I may throw some extra shine in there just for fun in the center, but for the most part we're going to keep this look really matte and just start working that shadow. And then because of my eyes, I can go up a little bit higher with this shadow, so I'm going to go a little bit stronger. And you can blend it right into the inside just a little bit, not too close to like cancel out that light that we've done, but just enough to kind of create that shape. And if this brush is too big, if it's a little bit too wide for you, you can do a smaller brush and kind of carve it in and then buff it out with a brush like this. This medium color is pretty hard to screw up with. And because we always have our light shadow brush, it should be easy. And you can blend a little bit. We'll do a bit more when we do the liner, but you can kind of blend and just fade out that shadow just a little bit towards the outside. Like that. And then again, if you screw up and you need to soften the edge, just go in with that highlighting brush and just clean up and blend the edge. And you want to try to make sure that your eye is as open as possible, that you're not like having your chin down too much or trying to lift your lid up. You really want to tilt your chin up and so that you can see the entire lid. And then sometimes you can kind of look straight just to kind of see for placement. But it's important to kind of change the angles of your hand and sometimes your chin just to get the right posture. Okay, and then just going to clean up. Those Elate shadows blend really nicely. The matte ones are really great. They just give a really like smooth texture, but it's really important to have some sort of like priming base, whether it be a waterproof concealer or that paint that I started with. I find that really makes a difference in how the shadow blends and stays and it doesn't go patchy. Okay, so now that we've done the crease color, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to keep the liner the darkest point, so I'm not going to start working in darker shadows into that outer crease. So now what we are going to do is we're going to go into liner. Now actually, first while I've got the shadows out, I'm going to do a little bit of liner underneath my eye. So I'm going to use that same color right there. I'm going to work that in to my lower lash line. So just going under the eye just to give some definition. Now back in the 50s, they would actually like sometimes do it lower and like draw out the line a little bit differently and then fill it in with some white space just to make the eyes look a little bigger in certain areas. But I'm just sticking with my natural lash line and hugging that. Yeah, so it just ends up giving like a little extra, it looks a little extra pop. There we go. Okay, so we've done a little liner underneath. So now to continue actually making my eyes look a little bit bigger, what I'm actually gonna do, instead of lining my inner rim with dark, like I've showed you in the past, we're actually gonna line with white. So let me just find my, okay, so we're using today the Aqua XL Makeup Forever white liner. So I'm gonna use this and go into my inner rim. So what's great about this is what happens is it just like brightens and makes my eyes look a little bit bigger, and it takes away any of that pinkiness from that inner waterline. Just makes my eyes look a little bit clearer. Okay, so now we've done the white. So now we're gonna do liner. So I've done liquid liner, I've showed you how to do shadow as a liner, so I'm actually gonna do a cream liner today. And the really important thing I find when you're doing a cream liner is actually your tool. So I'm using today this Quo brush. So it's actually like a bent point brush. So you can actually, I think they've discontinued this one, but I looked up and Tarte has a really nice one. It's double-ended and it has just like the straight point, but then it also has the bent angled point. And it's this bent angle that I've done so many makeup lessons, and what a world of difference it makes instead of using an angle brush to use this kind of bent point brush. And the placement, it's a dream. So today we're gonna try it with a cream. I've chosen the Blacktrack, which is the Matte Cosmetics cream liner. It's waterproof, and it's like a medium black. It's not super inky black. It's not like a gray. So for me it's kind of the perfect black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the product out, and then I'm going to work it onto my hand just to build the brush up, but then smooth it into kind of a point so there's not like a big clump of product on the edge. Now, I have actually never used this brush on myself, so this will be a good test to see how easy it is. I've done it with lots of clients and showed them how to do it and used it on them, so we'll give it a whirl. So because there's more product on your brush, don't start right at the inside of your eye. I'm gonna probably start somewhere around the center and try to taper it into the lash line, and then work it a little bit out to the outside, and then like go back and do that same kind of like dragging of the cat eye. Typical 1950s, they really did kind of the exaggerated and then lift it up. Sometimes now, like it's a bit more modern to do a little bit more lifted and not so kind of swoopy. Totally up to you. So we're gonna start. And the great thing about a cream liner is that you're able to like glide it and smooth a little bit better than a liquid. So it does tend to be a bit more forgiving. The angle of this brush also goes kind of just around your eyelashes, and it just, that was actually pretty easy. I'm impressed. So yeah, definitely the angled point brush. And because it's a cream, it just tends to glide onto the eye so nicely. And then I just use my finger to kind of blend out that edge. You can also go in with an eyeshadow, a black eyeshadow, to kind of soften and clean the edge. And then instead of going on the upper part of my lash line, I'm actually gonna do my kind of under inner rim to connect that inside to the, and if you've screwed up, if you've like kind of got a bit of a jagged line, again, you can use a black shadow to clean up the edge of the line, or you can go back in with your light highlighter shadow and just kind of like soften and taper that line so you get like a perfect little swoop. Okay, other eye. So again, to figure out where to do that kind of like lift cat eye, do a tight line first to your lash line and then start working it out and go backwards and get that little wisp. Again, the lash line, when the lower, sorry, to figure out the angle, the lower lash line kind of starts to curve up like this. So you want that liner to kind of follow that same kind of shape and line. So notice too, I'm holding my eye, I'm not pulling it and dragging it and changing the shape. Now, and for those of you who tend to have like extra skin or kind of like the overhanging, it's definitely going to be trickier to get like a perfect line and see that line out. So sometimes what you end up needing to do is kind of, I've seen different tricks of doing like step eyeliner. So it actually like almost looks like a lightning bolt that goes in there. So then when you look straight, that like angle actually sits where the skin kind of starts to fold. So that's a way, or just doing the liner and then using a darker shadow to kind of go in and just like kind of smudge the liner to the crease color a little bit more and fade that. Those are two really good tricks, but definitely making sure that you're kind of following your lower lash line, that angle, and making sure the liner is sitting behind your lashes. So the way your lashes swoop, you know, you want your liner to sit behind that. If you've got straight lashes, then curl them so that they lift up a bit, but you just don't want that liner to sit behind it. Go. So now we've got the liner complete. I'm not going to do any dark liner underneath my lashes. We're going to leave that for mascara. So now I'm actually going to add a little bit of shine in the center. This typically would be more of like a matte look, but I want to show you one of my new favorite shine products. So I used to use this one called All That Glitters from MAC. It was my go-to, like little bit of highlight in the center. It's kind of like a peachy champagne color, but they've discontinued it. So I have two left and I will use them sparingly, but I needed to find a replacement. So I ended up finding this awesome one from Stila. It is called Kitten, I believe. Yeah, so I put a little cotton pad over top of it. It's a really kind of soft shadow. So if I were to drop this, it's very likely that it's going to like shatter. So it's in my kit and it's moving around a ton. I want to protect it. So I've put this little like kind of like cotton makeup pad and just cut it and put it in there, and it just keeps it kind of pressed and compressed down. So it has less likeliness to jump. So I'm going to go in with this awesome highlight shadow and just do it in the center of my lid. I'm just going to use my finger. You can also use a small brush, but we just want just a little bit right in the center of the eye. Now be careful because we've done the liner there. Try not to go over the liner. But just in that center, just to kind of intensify the brightness a little bit. And I'm just going to use my highlighter brush to soften. You can always go back in with the contour brush just to blend the edge, because you don't want to go over top of that dark color with that light frosty color. We just want it in the center. And you can wear shine here until like as old as you want, basically. I know a lot of people with more mature eyes tend to think they can't wear shine, and that's just not true. You just don't want shine up under your brows, you don't want shine in your crease, but a little bit in the center of your lid is often really flattering because it just brightens and opens up the eye a little bit, even if it's just more of a satin finish rather than a frost. It's good. Okay, so that just brightens and intensifies. There we go. So now we've done most of our eyes. We'll do mascara and lashes last after we've done the rest of the products, but now we're going to go into brows. So brows today, I'm going to do a little bit more of an intense brow. So I'm going to use both a pencil to kind of draw in the hairs that I want to fill in and darken, and then I'm also going to use a shadow to just deepen it a little bit more. So depending on you, like if you've got holes and missing, you know, parts of your brow, then you're definitely going to use a really fine pencil. A shadow isn't going to cut it, but a shadow is great for changing hair color. So if you're someone with dark brows, but you've just, you know, dyed your hair red, so you can use like a reddy brown shadow just with a brush to kind of go in and tint the color. You know, you can use both differently. So let's go in. So I'm going to go in my favorite Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Wiz. And I love that it's just so tiny and fine. You can really create hairs with it. So just little tiny dashes. I tend to start kind of on the inside of your eye. If you've already got a full brow there, then just, you know, fill in where needed. You don't need to do an area that's darker. You can also go in with a little brush on the outside and just kind of soften and direct your brows where you want them to go. So other eye. I've got a little bit of a sunspot starting kind of on that kind of top bit where the brow then starts to angle down, that curve. So I just need to be a little bit conscious that I'm not making it look like it's just like a big lump and the sunspot is actually my brow color. So you can always go in with a little bit of concealer just to kind of clean up that edge if you want. Mine's not too bad, so we'll just leave it. And I'm gonna darken now. So we're gonna actually go in with a shadow. So we're using a different brush. So if you're doing an angle brush with liner, you wanna make sure that you're using a separate angle brush, obviously, for your brows. So I'm gonna go in here. This is a MAC palette that I've created for all my brow colors. So I'm actually gonna use, this is Omega right here, and then this, this one is Omega, and then this one's Smut. So I'm actually gonna mix the two of them together. Omega would be fine on its own if I wanted just a little definition, but I want it to be a little bit cooler and a bit darker. My hair color is going in a little bit darker right now because I haven't had my highlights done for a bit. So we're just gonna go in with something a little stronger today. So just mixing the two. And this is the 208 brush. It's just nice and small. So we're just gonna go in and just deepen, but I'm still going in with more lines. So even if you're just doing shadow in your brows, you still want to do like little kind of flicks rather than just drawing a very flat two-dimensional brow. So it definitely makes the brow stronger. It also kind of fills it in and starts to make it a little bit fuller, and you got to be careful you don't make it too much just like one solid color, like kind of Bert and Ernie brows that's just like a block. So really having dimension, and that's why I'm using two different colors, and the color of the liner is a little bit different because your actual hair has different tones to it, so you want to try to mimic that as much as possible. Okay, so there we are. Brows are completed. So I've got a nice like frame to my eyes now. Now we are gonna do some skin. So a common issue with skin is redness. So whether it's rosacea or blemishes or whatnot, redness can be a real issue. And sometimes it's not covered easily by just putting one coat of your skin color foundation over top. So they have these really great products when you're looking at like color correcting. You can use more of like a green tone. So this is a really great product from Sephora called Bright Future, and it's got a really nice like sheer texture to it, so it's buildable, but it doesn't make your skin just look green, because you know, green cancels out red. You know, things like you can, you know, use powders or whatnot, but I find like a nice cream product tends to blend a little bit better. So I'm gonna pretend I have a little bit of pinkiness on my cheeks, so I'm gonna use this, and I'm just gonna dab it a little bit on my cheek areas like that, and then you can just use your finger and shear it out. You could use a brush if you want, but I'm gonna use my finger. And it just easily cancels out, but doesn't add a heavy layer. Now I might actually wanna put some on my nose because my nose is a little bit red actually. So you don't wanna put too much on, because you're gonna have to go in with a color over top of it. You're never gonna just do like a green tint by itself. There. So if you have rosacea and you need something to help extra camouflage, this stuff is great. Nice sheer texture, and you don't need much, so the small concealer container is perfect. So now I'm gonna go in with a foundation. Now in my kit, I have a couple favorites. I love the Makeup Forever HD. So this one right here is one of my go-to favorites. I love the texture of it. It's just sheer. I can, you know, build it if I want, but it's just on its own. It just looks really great on any age of skin. So this is my probably go-to. So I'm just gonna squirt a little bit right here on my hand. This color has a little bit of like more like a golden undertone to it. So in the area where I've just done that green, I definitely want to stipple more. You don't want to start wiping too much or it's just going to take off all that work you just did. So just go in and stipple that area. And this is definitely like a little bit more of a coverage look for me. I normally wear more of like a sheer foundation, but for a vintage look, it definitely was like a really clean, even skin. So I don't want to see much variation in my skin tone. This will lightly cover some of my sunspots and sun damage. If you're trying to cover a sunspot and it's got that brown tone in it, it's really important to make sure that you've got more of like a salmon colored concealer, something that has like a little bit more of like a deeper pink color in it, because that will get out that deep kind of brown purple color, and then you can go over with your skin tone. And always blend down on your neck. Okay, now you can see I got a little bit of sun last week, so I've got a little bit of pinkiness on my skin. You could always blend, you know, your foundation depending on the top you have down and cover that. I'm gonna go in with a little bit of like contour and bronzer, just try to kind of even up and match up a bit more. But first I'm gonna go in with concealer. So I've done my foundation, evened out the all over surface of my skin, and now I'm gonna go in where I need extra touch up, which is usually around the eyes, blemishes. So I'm actually today gonna use this. So this is the Full Cover Concealer from Makeup Forever. Now, a little of this goes a very long way. You need such a small amount to get coverage, so be very careful. It's also a very matte finish, so you don't want to, I sometimes will mix this with some of my creamier ones if I want like a more of a satin natural skin finish texture, but this is great because it's waterproof. So for any of my clients, for brides and whatnot, this stays really well, or if you have oilier skin, it tends to work great. So I'm just using my MAC concealer brush and just dabbing a little bit off the end. And then I'm just gonna go in only where needed. So really it's just that area on the inner there and any blemishes. Try not to go over too much of the shadow and stuff that you've just done, and just blend the two together. Okay, so concealer finish. So now I'm gonna go in and set it with some powder. Now because I've already got a fair amount of coverage on my skin, I'm not gonna go in with extra coverage from my powder. So today I'm showing you the lovely like Fenty powder. This is her Invisimatte. Amazing. So it's actually like looks white, but it can go on any skin tone. I have done really dark skin to really fair skin, and this, all it does is take away the shine. So it's just gonna set my face. I can apply this as many times during the day as I want, and it's not gonna build up product, coverage, anything like that, or look powdery. It's really finely milled, so it just sinks in and smooths out the skin. So I'm gonna go in with my big brush from Elate, and then just dab and set everything that I just did. This is definitely one of those products that, you know, for throwing into your purse or, you know, on your wedding day, just to have a product handy. This is a great one because it just takes away shine, no sweatiness, nice fresh skin. All you photographers, having it in your kit would be really great, especially if you're doing studio portrait stuff and those hot lights. This stuff's great. Okay, so now that we've set everything, and I'm gonna go in and start contouring my skin. So I'm using today the Marc Jacobs Tantastic bronzer with my 170 brush. I'm just going in there like so. And we're gonna just start carving a line. So that looks pretty strong, but we're going to buff it. And right into that center, the hairline, and you can kind of feel like my bone's right there. It's the hollow bit that's like right underneath there. And that's where you wanna carve that into, but not going too close. Like if from the outside of your eye, if that drew a line down, that's kind of where you're stopping with the product. You don't want to carry your bronzer or contour color too forward. And you can always go back in and use your foundation or your whatnot to kind of clean up and smooth that line. Because I used a brush for my foundation, there's a little bit left on there. So I can smoothly do it without like adding liquid. And we're gonna do the jawline. So for anyone trying to soften any extra chins or your neck, because most people don't get much color on their neck, so it's good always to blend down your contour or bronzer color. Also too, just to join the color, because my body has a little bit more color right now than my face. So if I wanted to do, I could take a big brush with this and just lightly dust it on my skin. But a little bit on my forehead. So just doing at the outer kind of tops here to kind of give a little bit more of like an oval shape to my face, because anything dark recedes, anything light comes forward. So any area on your skin that you darken, it will kind of sink it in. So if you've got a really like square jaw, you can bring a little bit more contour on the edge and the corner just to kind of soften and round it, because then anything light, that front part of your face is gonna pop. Okay, so now that we've done a little bit of contouring, I'm gonna go in with some blush. So today with that classic vintage, I'm gonna do a nice like bold red lip. So for cheeks, I'm gonna keep it a little bit more neutral, kind of like a pinky brown. So today I'm gonna use the Elate Desire blush. So this one, and I'm gonna use the Elate brush, but it's just like a nice like soft pink. So it's not gonna give a crazy amount of color. I want the lips kind of to do the talking, and I've already got a little bit of contour going on. So I'm just gonna go in with the brush and just kind of dust it on the top of my apples. And I'm pretty fair, like there is a shade up or so, I believe, that's a little bit more of like a pinky brown if you need a little extra color. But for those fair people who find that like blush goes too strong on them, Desire is a great color because it's really soft and you can really layer it to get more color. It's not gonna go like immediate color all at once. So for those fair translucent skins, it's a good one. There we go. So just like a nice soft pink on my skin. Blush complete. So before we do lips, I'm gonna go in and we're gonna do some mascara. So I'm going in with, again, with my favorite Tightline mascara. I think I need to order a new one soon. But the nice small brush on it is so good for just getting right in at the very base of the lashes and making it almost look like you've done liner. Make sure that you never pump your mascara like this. If you want to try to get extra product on there, just like roll it around, but don't pump because that's just putting more air in there and it's just going to dry your mascara out faster. And you should replace your mascara probably every about 3 months. Put a little reminder in your phone or put a little date of when you bought it on a sticker on your mascara tube, but okay, and then we're going in with my mascara. So I'm using the MAC Upward Lash just to get up some nice gives such a nice thickness. It really gives some extra drama to my lashes. Such a difference. You can really see like how thick, but you really want to work it at the lash line and then and if you get a little clump, then you can go in with like a little brush or you can use your finger to take a little bit of it off and then rework it in. And I would do some extra coats a little bit more towards the outside just to continue with that kind of doe-eyed look. You could go in with lashes if you want, but I think today I'm just going to keep it more simple and just I like how the liner and the mascaras complement each other. It's you can still see, so I'm gonna leave it. There we go. So we've completed mascara. So now I'm gonna go in and do my lips. So I have chosen a bright cherry red. Here goes nothing. Normally I tend towards a little bit more of an orangey red. Classic vintage, you can do like a nice like deeper brick red. Darker colors on me just tend to make my lips look too small though and just kind of seals them up. So I'm gonna go a little bit brighter today. So I'm going in with just like a nice bright red and a liner. So this is the Makeup Forever waterproof liner in 8C. So I'm gonna go in with this first and just like draw a line. Both are waterproof and long wearing, so this is gonna stay really well. And the key to doing a perfect red lip is often like making sure when I did my foundation, a little bit of that foundation kind of covers the edge of my lips. You really want to make sure you've done that and there's no pinkiness or edges around your lip. And I would recommend filling in your whole lip with the liner. So do the edge and then fill the whole thing in. Most people's lips aren't totally perfectly symmetrical, so it's good to kind of sit back and just see where you need to kind of like fill out a little bit thicker or, you know, angle it down a little bit differently just so that everything's as balanced as possible. Because a red is, or it's like a dark lip, it's going to be strong and you're going to see if you've screwed up. There we go. So nice classic red lip. So now I'm gonna go in, so this is a Sephora, one of their long wear lip colors, and I'm gonna go in with this and a lip brush and finish the look. So I'm just gonna put a little bit on my hand. You could just do it from the brush. Would work good. Just gonna go in actually now and kind of clean up the edge. The bottom isn't totally perfect, so I'm actually gonna go in with a little bit of that concealer that I used. And use just a little bit of that brush. You can use a smaller brush actually, like an angle brush would probably be, actually I'm gonna use an angle brush. So I'm gonna use a clean angle brush like this, and I'm gonna go in with just a little bit of that concealer just to clean up the line. And then I'm actually just gonna use a little bit of that Kitten to just put a little touch just on kind of that little like top, little cupid's bow of my lip. And I'm just gonna use that little bit of a fluffy brush because it's got a little bit of the matte shadow on it, and I'm just gonna dab just a little. Like that. Now, because I want this lipstick to stay on really well, I'm not gonna put a gloss over top of it. Anytime you put a gloss over any kind of long wear lipstick, it usually starts to kind of eat away at the color and it comes off. So unless it's a product that comes with it to add shine, it's usually gonna take it off. So I'm gonna leave it just a little bit more matte today. Okay, so there you have it. There is your vintage inspired makeup. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna go out now and enjoy the day and maybe take a walk and look pretty dressed up, but it's beautiful out, so why not? So thank you so much. Please make sure you subscribe to this channel, and I look forward to seeing you again. Take care, bye-bye.